How's it going, everybody? This is Garden Groove Podcast, episode 14.
That's right.
And I'm getting better at that every week. We have two guests with us this week, so kind of a special episode. We have Maxwell and Seth Costner. How's it going, guys?
Good.
And I'm sure we'll dive into all the different things that you guys have going on, but maybe we should lead with what you're here to really talk about, which is your book about gigging.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Or we don't have to jump straight into that.
Whatever.
Let's jump in.
We were working on it right before we came here.
Nice. Really?
Yeah, it's kind of the to-do list mounts, the closer you get.
For sure.
That's something I had to learn. We had to learn.
Yeah, it's funny. We've been saying the book is done for months. And today we actually said the book is done.
Yeah.
It's officially
very cool.
done.
Whoops.
You just don't realize how many little how many little details go into it. I mean, everything from designing the cover to, we remembered a couple weeks ago, we're like, okay, it's done. Oh, we need a back cover. We've got to have a back cover.
Yeah,
totally. And then
Different
all
sizes too for different platforms.
Exactly,
and-
yeah. All the editing and formatting, and it's a lot.
The graphics guy is different than the editor, and then the editor we were having doing the back cover, so they had to send the specific gradient of cyan to the because we didn't want it to. Stuff I
Little
never would have
details.
thought.
Totally.
Yeah.
Such little details, yeah. She actually just, our editor formatter just sent the back cover, and we were like, I mean, really on the way here.
Yeah, shout out to Kara Coleman Fields.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Yeah, she's
Nice.
the best.
Had a great time.
It's like, other than uploading to the KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing, and the audiobook, it's done. Like, it really is done. On the way here, like, we said, psh, branded it. It's done, man.
Yes, you are doing an audiobook?
Yes.
With it?
Yeah,
Very cool.
it's
been recorded.
It's
Yep.
done,
Nice.
mastered and everything.
That's
so,
cool.
It's you guys talking.
yes.
With it.
Yeah,
I
we
love
did
it.
ours.
Unfortunately.
It always needs to be the authors talking.
Yeah, that's what I
This is Audible. And it's like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
This isn't going to work for me.
So, how about it? You want to play music, huh? And it's like, what?
Yeah.
I can tell they didn't write that.
I might move to something else. Yeah.
How long did that actually take to read through? I've always been fascinated by when you actually see how long a book is in time that it takes to read it all through. Like, was that in one sitting, or did you all do it in
Multiple.
several?
And then we
different-
had to go re-record some stuff because there was some edits that we needed to make and stuff.
Well, it's funny talking about how you don't realize how much goes into it. I remember telling Matt, I think we can knock this out in a day, man. I think if we start at 11, nope.
We
I think
talk
it took
double
us 2 or
time.
3
I
days
love the
to-
optimism, but in my head, I was like, and then I'll do that with some stuff too. I'll like overshoot, and Seth's like, "Hey, man, we'll see." I'm like, "Damn." I was
Your
just
voice
being
gets
over-
tired after a while.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I can imagine.
And then all the, like,
yeah, the mouth noises.
yeah. I kept. There was. We were talking about this earlier. Like, I can't remember which one of us was, but we would talk, listen, and then we did a listen through, and then we would listen back. He would unmute it and put it in the computer monitors, and we would listen back, and then the. That. Sorry, I keep doing that. I'm sure the listeners are like, "Stop doing that." We would hear that, and Zach, the guy that edited it for us, the audio, we'd sit there and we'd just be listening, nodding our heads. Sounds good. And Seth's like, "Wait." He's like, "Did y'all hear that?" And he was right. To be fair, he was right. And then we'd go back and it'd be like, like some little thing. Like, it goes like. And I'm just like, dude, and we started laughing.
He had the mouth noises. I had the breaths. I actually got diagnosed with asthma by doing this book.
Are you serious?
No, I'm just kidding. Like, helped me
That's
with a
gonna
medical
be the second
diagnosis.
book about your story with
It was
asthma.
so alarming. You
He's
had to
good.
Go talk to someone.
Yeah, he's good about to breathe, but
yeah.
apparently I'm just a big mouth breather.
Oh, man.
So, when this all started coming together, I mean, give me a little bit of like y'all's backstory working together in the music industry, and kind of what led to y'all being like, we should make this book together.
Yeah, it's been about 5 years that we've been working on it off and on,
wow.
the COVID times, et cetera. And
Yeah.
we were like working on it. I don't know if we were quite halfway through, maybe a quarter of the way through, a third of the way through. And we were like, oh, man, let's keep working on that book. And we tour with different artists. Right. We have toured together, but at the time and now we are touring with different artists. And so scheduling was unique. And so we did some virtual and some not, et cetera. And at one point we were doing a virtual session. And just there during that time, during the COVID time, we were just like, man, like, we can't really release this book now.
Yeah.
Not the time.
Music, like, what gig?
Yeah.
There are no gigs to be had.
Yeah, dude, you better get on TikTok or something.
Yeah.
Totally. Something. So, when we started it, it was prior to that. And part of the inspiration is like our former selves. I think back to when I was 14, 15, 16, 17. What did my concept of being a musician, but being a musician that wanted to perform, being a musician that wanted to perform and make money to perform, being a musician that wanted to make money and perform for other people. There's all these little like steps. And so I thought like, wow, when I was younger, I grew up in a rural town in Oklahoma. And, I remember being like, man, I don't really know where to start, et cetera, et cetera. I went to this junior college that was a music program and learned a lot there. But even then, there's so many different things that you want to know. So we tried to distill all the like imperative stuff to specifically the title, hired musician, getting and keeping gigs, like specifically that goal. Yeah. We tried to think like, what would our former selves like? Yeah. What is stuff that we've seen on a gig that we have either done, like a sin you committed on the gig, or you saw somebody else do something you're like, I know never to do that because that is really bad. He got drunk and passed out on his kid in the middle of the show. Fill in the blank. So it's a collection of all that kind of stuff, peppered in with other stuff. But I think that was a big inspiration, was our former selves, our current selves, and things we've seen that were like big mistakes.
What are some examples of that kind of stuff? Because I went to like this like junior rock camp when I was a kid, and it was a bunch of just chaos.
How old?
With like 10-year-olds running around.
You were 10?
Yeah.
And they put you in little bands together?
Yeah, they would force you in a band, and they would, like, you'd have to do one cover, and you'd have to do 2 original songs. But the coaches would talk about just what you should do when you're on stage, how you should treat the sound guy, and all this kind of stuff.
For 10-year-olds?
For 10-year-olds.
That's
the
same
awesome.
thing in
It's literally
Houston.
like School of Rock, like Jack Black.
It was called Doghouse Music. Doghouse Music? Yeah. Nice. But it was pretty much School of Rock for the most part.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
But one of the takeaways that they had was you load your drums onto the stage, and then you play, and then you load your drums off the stage. Like, you help out. You don't just let the sound guys do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's that small little thing that makes a big difference for if you're trying to get the next gig.
Yep.
So, like, I've always remembered that. And it's certainly made a difference. But, like, do you have some takeaways with the book that are similar?
Go ahead.
Like little nuggets?
No, I was going to say, something that I didn't think about when I first started touring and doing, tour bus gigs is just the etiquette that comes along with, just we were talking the other day about even stuff like personal hygiene. It's like because you're in close quarters. Sometimes, and I think it's just little things like that. I don't know. You were about to say something, but.
Well, I wrongfully thought you were asking about like some crazy like gig stories like that. You were saying what are some good principles to And then in my head I gave the example of the guy passing out, and I was like, I got 100 of those. Sorry. So I was going.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I was.
There's definitely humor injected into it, but yes, there are some like, the names have been removed to protect the innocent and stuff. But there's some, definitely.
Like, we saw this guy do this thing.
Yes, and I'll say the book evolved, and I said we were talking to some friends about the book the other day, and I said this. It kind of was like it's almost like in songwriting. Not that I write songs, Seth does, but y'all were saying y'all do. It's like you dip down and it's like a well or it's a river and you're dipping from it. Mm-hmm. You're not like creating from the water doesn't spring from you. You're just dipping into the water. So that's a terrible. But I totally get the idea.
Yeah,
so that's how I felt like with the book. And so what's making me laugh is early on we were because it was like the early on process was just brainstorms. I would be like driving or I'd be on the bus or I'd be at a venue or on a gig or at home just sitting around drinking root beer and I'd be like, hey, we should put this in there. You put it in and then later you go edit and you go, we can't put that in there.
Yeah, for sure.
Or we go, how can we put that in there?
Right.
So
I think in make it ambiguous enough.
Exactly. So in the early days, like we'd be specific, and both of us would throw brainstorms in there. And dude, sometimes we'd go months without working on it, and so the chapters laid themselves out earlier than when we finished, and we're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, and then we'll write for that chapter. Yeah. These are the chapters
cool.
I think that would be good, and then that evolved and they changed like 20 times.
Yeah.
But so if we did have a flash or a brainstorm, that goes in chapter 7, and we'd throw it down there. So as we're writing the book.
Yeah.
Dude, some of the stuff in chapter 7 was from 4 years prior, so the character of the book had changed drastically.
And we would just be cracking up at some of this
it'd be
stuff.
like some specific
Why did we put
example.
that? Yeah, we can't do that.
Bro,
What
and
were
he's
we
looking
thinking?
at me like, and I kind of like to. I think we both do in our own ways. We like to poke the bear, like in our lives in general.
Yeah.
So we kind of had some of that in there, and I think we both were like, yeah, we can't, unless that's the type of book we wanted to write, but we didn't. We really wanted it to be like helpful, informative, with some of that fun injected, not like, hey, like let's get real raw gritty and make people laugh and then give them a little education. It was almost like flip-flop.
It's more education first, and then
exactly.
it comes with the
without it
territory.
being too vanilla.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It comes with the territory that there's gonna be some good stories,
Yeah.
or good funny experiences that
Oh
lead
my
to certain
God.
rules of like, do not do this.
Y'all gigged a bunch, right?
Oh, yeah.
Y'all know the stories.
Oh, yeah.
They're all the same.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
crazy nighttime stuff.
Yeah, I've been guilty of
Yeah,
several.
same.
So-
I have been the perpetrator.
I have been the example to really good. So how did these brainstorm sessions? What was the general vibe when y'all were working this stuff out? Was it just kind of swapping stories and then sort of going, okay, where does that fit into the structure, or was it sort of just making the structure first and then filling in the blanks?
I don't think either one of those. I think it was sporadic and on our own, and then we had like a shared Google document.
Yeah.
Oh, that's smart.
That was
Yeah.
if I remember.
I'll say as a side note too, Matt and I, we hit it off immediately when we first met. We have kind of a interesting sense of humor. Big Tim and Eric fans.
Okay, yeah.
So
Love
he
to
would,
share.
I would say stuff, and he would be like, "Oh, that's really funny," and nobody else was laughing but Matt. And I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay."
Yeah.
So we already had that rapport and everything, and I think that helped us to make this fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To write, like I had a
think
lot of
so.
fun writing it, and even though 5 years sounds like a long time, like you said earlier, we had those couple years with COVID where it didn't make sense to really work on it, at the time, but.
It was just kind of when you felt like it.
Yeah. And like you said, we kind of laid it out with the book kind of naturally progresses as we go. So we start out pretty simple, pretty basic, maybe for people that, are just getting started and they're like, oh, where do I begin if I want to, get a job?
Chapter 1's getting gigs.
Getting
Play
gigs.
a show. Yeah.
First thing we
that's
say
great.
in chapter 1 is hone your craft. You got to be able to play well. So if you can't play an instrument, you're not going to get a job. But
And we keep them real short and digestible.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't write a whole half a chapter on honing your craft. We just say,
Right.
hey, here's a really important thing. And Seth, credit to him, likes the War of Art, the Art of War, those two
Yeah, it's
books.
great.
Yeah.
And
Great books,
it's
yeah.
almost like shorter paragraphs with a big principle. You elaborate a little bit, and then you maybe move on to a new. And that's kind of how we wrote
Yeah.
it, is shorter. I don't know if you'd call them vignettes, but shorter sections.
Yeah.
And so we don't go too far into
Right.
Yeah.
I was going to actually ask if it was structured sort of that way, where you start out, let's assume
ADD
you're-
friendly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you basically, if you're a 16-year-old kid trying to play your first show, you start there, and then with each chapter, you're applying higher level concepts as you
Well
sort of.
put. You put it
Yeah,
better than
for
we
sure.
have. Yes, that's
And
correct.
Actually, to that point, we start off, I think we tell them the chapter names.
that'd
We
be
start
great,
off with getting gigs.
Mm-hmm.
So you got the gig. Then chapter 2 is keeping gigs. Then we have a chapter called music. We just talk about, some basic principles of learning music, practicing. Obviously, it's not a music educational
Right.
book, so we don't really go down the rabbit hole
But we
there.
definitely say, hey man, theory, et cetera, et
Theory's
cetera, et
important,
cetera.
And then let's see, chapter 4, we talk about money.
Yeah, you got to do it.
Spend,
Yeah.
save,
How musicians make money, different avenues for
Mm-hmm.
gigs and types of gigs. Chapter 5 is mindset, which I think you said is your favorite, or one of your favorites.
mindset and musings are probably my
Yeah.
favorite, just because
Yeah.
they're a little bit more, I don't want to say abstract, but comparatively speaking, we venture into some, you're reading down,
Philosophy.
you're reading okay, show
Yeah.
up on time, that's sure good. And then you get there and it's like, be careful, you might get depressed too. And it's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that, but that type of stuff for sure.
Yeah, and chapter 6 is myths. And then that's a fun one.
That's a fun one.
That's
I
a
love
that's a
that.
lot of fun.
Yeah.
'cause-
Yeah, dispelling some
Yeah,
some
exactly.
common ideas. Yeah,
Which I think the music business, is unique in that people, if you're on the outside looking in, there's so many like misconceptions.
absolutely.
1,000%.
You know what I mean?
100%.
And it's so things, and that's when we kind of just go
Yeah.
all over the
Longest
place.
chapter by far and deepest subject
Yeah.
matter, Yeah.
Written a little more stream of consciousness.
Yeah, a
in
little
in
bit,
a
yeah.
way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man. Yeah.
Sure.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Can you go more into the mindset part?
It's probably the chapter I'm like least familiar with in my brain.
Sure.
But yeah.
Or just even what comes top of mind
Yeah.
for that kind of stuff?
Yeah, one of the points I think in mindset is avoid negativity.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Because I think we've all been around those people, and maybe we've been those people at times where,
Yeah.
something's going wrong on a gig or whatever, and your natural inclination is to complain about it, or to vent or whatever. And
Sure.
I mean, everybody needs that person in their life that they can vent to, or they can but maybe that's a mom or a girlfriend or a wife or whatever it is. And I think we talk about how, save it for those people, because you can really stir up a toxic environment just by little comments and little,
Right.
like complaints
Digs
on the road,
towards other
digs,
people.
whether you're in a studio or whether you're on a tour bus or a plane or whatever. Everybody gets tired. Everybody has a bad day, but it's so important, I think, to avoid negativity. So that's one of the,
Yeah.
little sections on the mindset that we
I love it.
emphasize.
We really, I feel like, did the armchair psychology. We kind of took that angle
Yeah.
because, I feel like that's how we probably approach our lives. I approach my life, and, we all deal with people and human dynamics. And
And we acknowledge the fact that we don't have
Yeah, we don't
PhDs.
know
We're not
shit.
psychologists
Yeah.
or sociologists.
Right.
To be clear.
Yeah,
Lived
to be clear.
experience.
But just the stuff, yeah, exactly. And I love that, when he said that, I'm like going, oh, yeah, I remember that section in that chapter of avoiding negativity. And we purposefully didn't write be positive because maybe we did. I don't know if we said be positive. But that specific one, we said avoid negativity because, and the reason I thought of that is because I feel like that's the character we tried to inject in the book.
Yeah.
It's like we didn't want to be like, we're successful and you can too. And there's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with those types of books. I read those books. I love them. That's just not really what we wanted to write. We wanted to
to be
write
real.
like, hey, man, you're going to get depressed. I've been depressed. Hey, man, you're going to be like, my career's over. Hey, man, I have
we
to
talk
quit
about
this gig.
jealousy,
Yeah,
maybe
dude,
getting
I'm
Yeah,
angry.
it's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm 35 and went through divorce and I'm mega depressed and I may never whatever.
Yeah.
Or
No, that's
whatever.
real
Feeling
life
that-
stuff.
Yeah,
It's gonna
exactly.
come-
And
it's
we don't
gonna
harp
happen.
on that, but that's
Yeah.
just saying we keep that in mind when we have the posture of like, hey, avoid negativity. And in there we're like, you don't have to smile all the time. You don't have to be Mr. like, don't be something you're not to an extent. But when you go to grandma's house and you don't drop the F-bomb, it's kind of like that. Maybe just, self-awareness
Yeah.
and read the room.
Self-awareness is key.
And
for sure.
we say all this and we throw ourselves under the bus too, like he's saying, like it's not like we're like, hey, do this because we don't. It's like no,
Yeah, it
Yeah.
will
we're
make
there
you
with
successful
ya.
if you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I told somebody the other day I need to read the book. Now that it's done, I always,
Yeah.
take our own advice.
Yeah.
type
That
thing.
probably means it's a good book.
Yeah, we hope so.
I hope
Yeah,
so. Yeah. And that was, it's like, let's write a book. We were like, no, like there's things that we wish we knew. And really, like I like people. I'm kind of an introvert, but I do like people a lot.
Yeah.
And the drummer for the band I'm in, we do music clinics. And I love doing music clinics. I've gone to them. I've attended them. We did one here.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
so fun and informative. And you look and you go like, wow, they're doing that. Unless you're like going to a Victor Wooten clinic or something, it's like I can do that too. But it inspires you, and you have a takeaway from
Absolutely.
it. And you go, that's a human doing that, and I'm a human, so why not? And so that I think that really was like pulling on our hearts. It wasn't like, oh man, we got this gig, let's write a book and see if we can sell it. Which
Yeah.
whatever, that's fine too. But we really were like, hey, I think this is gonna help people. Like, and it made us happy and
Yeah,
brought a lot of joy. Like it was a labor of love. It brought a lot of joy to us, I think, to write. I don't want to speak for you, but I feel like it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like, man, this is our life's work. No, but that kind of vibe. Like,
Yeah.
hey, man, like this really is we really put a lot of time, and we were as genuine as we could be. You know?
I feel like there's a natural inclination that you have when things start to pan out for you and I think it's a good inclination that a lot of people get, where it's very selfless to just be like, I have something to teach somebody younger than me or not on the same level as me. And like, you have kind of a desire to shorten the path for other people because you lived it, and I say this as somebody that I've got a long way to go before I'm where I exactly want to be, but I'm way further than I was for a long time.
100%.
Over the last year, I've made a lot of progress in what I'm doing.
Quickly.
And so it's like you turn around and when somebody asks you a question, every once in a while, like, people hit me up with random mixing questions. You're like, man, I can save you.
Right.
So you get excited about how much struggle you can save someone else by just like telling them the shortcut to, or shortcut might not be the right word, but
no, I'm with you.
You know what I mean, though?
I do, man. I end up meeting people for coffee, and within reason, you gotta have you time too. But when you do have time, like you're saying, I love doing that. It's like a friend of a friend or a message on whatever, and don't message me. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. But like, I get, a message or whatever, or I message people too. I'm that guy as well. We're all in this together.
Yeah, sure.
But they'll be like, hey, da-da-da. I'm like, dude, come over by my house preferably. And, I'll buy you coffee and we'll talk. And I love that, man. There's something real beautiful about that. And it's almost like cathartic in a way, makes you feel like, even if you don't gain anything, it's just like, that's just a good thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes you
putting good into the world.
Yeah,
shows that you're human. I think that's what all you guys are doing. You got a big gig, and you're doing stadium tours, and you're like, you have the gig in a lot of ways. And when you came in with Jake to do the clinic here,
you're like, these fucking goofballs.
But there's always this like, there's this moment of just like, okay, like, what are they gonna be like?
Oh yeah.
And like, are they gonna show up in like a fur coat and like and a top hat on and like
that'd be a good look for you, actually. I see you in a fur coat and a top
and like
hat.
eyeliner and like are they gonna be this kind of character?
You never know. You're right.
But then you show up, and Jake show up, and you're just human beings. It's just like
right on.
But I like to think that that's precisely the reason why you have the gig.
Yeah.
You're good at bass too, whatever. But but like I think personality kind of over everything means a lot.
Well, it's like you said too, we're all in it together, and that's a good point. It's not really always about talent. You know, I think finding success and finding a gig where you fit, and a lot of that is based on personality. Are you a good hang? Are you nice to people?
Right.
Can you get along with people? And it's not. I mean, I'll be the first to admit I'm not the greatest keyboard player in the world. By any means.
And it's like at the end of the day, we all play. All four of us in here. I know you guys. Maybe everybody listening plays or could play, and it's like that's cool and that's good. It is good. You have to play the right notes at the right time. But I mean, for most of us, myself, the blanket term pop. We're playing pop music.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm not leaned on to like, hey man, we're gonna do no set lists and then on the spot. Someone just starts
throw them for a twist.
Yeah.
Extend
like, hey,
the song to 20 minutes long.
Right. Lush Life in a different key, and I'm just like, oh, I couldn't do that gig at all. I'm just not that skilled of a player. I'm just not. But I do what I do well, and thanks, man. Thanks for the compliments, and I feel like I'm in good company because you guys seem that way as well.
Yeah,
but it's like, man. But it's so much more than, bum 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 bum. Thank you. Good night, dude. There's a lot more hours than just.
We say there's 24 hours in a day, and maybe 2 of those you're on stage.
Yep. Exactly.
But the other 22 is how you get the job and keep the job.
Yeah,
exactly.
The term "good hang" gets thrown around a lot in these conversations.
On a daily basis.
I hear, "Are you a good hang?" Is when talking about what, like you said, getting and keeping a gig. It's kind of the number one thing. So are you a chill person to be around? And pretty good at what you do.
Yeah,
it's in our prelude. We talk about that literal phrase, and from that we go, what does that phrase mean? Can you improve it?
Right.
Because part of the book was inspiration for us was our previous selves, but then other people that I've seen people that I love and care about, or maybe didn't really know but got a good vibe from, you get to know them outside of maybe work, and you go, these people are incredible, and they're incredible players. But man, sometimes when you put them in this social setting, they tend to be a little bit this way, and that puts the band leader off, or that does this, or they don't answer texts. It's all that stuff, and that's the stuff that we're talking about. And really, again, part of the inspiration was, we've seen those people and went like, oh man, how do I help them? And I'm like, well, there's only 24 hours in a day, and I got to play, and I got a dog, and I got to do. I can't be their psychologist. I can't be their counseling. So I think that was part of us wanting channel it. Well put. We channeled it into the book, and hopefully, people that maybe struggle with the things that are naturally to us. For some people, the crazy technique thing is natural, and that's great. But for some people, maybe like being in social settings and keeping your mouth shut's hard. I really mean that literally. And it's like, those people need a little help too, maybe. And so, and we tell people, think about it. Is that you? And if that is you, try to change it, man. Go to like in there, we go to see a counselor. That may be a more worthy investment.
If you want to change it,
yeah, dude. It's like, hey, maybe don't buy that extra drum kit or guitar, or because you have 3, so keep what you got. Use that 5,000 whatever drum kits cost.
Buy some food.
Buy some food, and then maybe go talk to a counselor.
Yeah. I think that's great advice. I think
I've done it.
Yeah, I literally just started going back. So it's. I 100%, get that.
Yeah, but then there is this weird spot that you get put in is, which I don't know where the line is, but we had a guy, Edgell Groves. He did a roundtable here. He is Hooch Country. It's like a media thing in Nashville.
Nice.
And his thing, which I love, which kind of is a push against what you're saying. Yeah. I agree with everything you're saying.
Oh, dude, bring it.
But I guess I don't know where the line is where. What he says is, like, if you're, if you're like a quirky artist, I don't even know what that's supposed to mean, but lean into the quirk, because that's going to be the thing that helps you stand out as a musician and as an artist. So his take on it is kind of lean into it. But if you see that it's actually kind of hurting your ability to get a gig, maybe that's where.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's more
so it's like maybe the two can coexist of like, hey, man, distinguish yourself and be unique. And if you wear a crazy chain, okay, this guy doesn't like it, but this girl loves it. So you're going to gravitate towards a feather there.
Yeah.
But, dude, perpetually showing up late, I don't see how you're going to parlay that.
Right, I was going to say.
Being an abrasive person.
Depends on what the quirk is.
Fair enough. Yeah. And, I love that.
I think they're two different things, though.
Yeah.
Well put. And, I have some buddies, we all do, and they are that a little bit more, and they are side musicians. They're not like, hey, I'm an artist, I'm doing this crazy stuff and people love it and it's creating album sales. It's like, no, they're a musician trying to get hired by people, but they do have their own little microcosm of a cool, I'm t-shirts and I'm boring, dude, like whatever. But it's like I got buddies that they are a vibe, or they have a penchant for whatever. And they don't.
They're dressing like David Bowie,
right? And they're not yes men or women. They're a little more kick against the grain kind of vibe, and they get gigs too, as long as
even those people can be chill. Even those people can be easy to get along.
Yeah. Right. But it's like wrong notes and not showing up on time. That's man. But you're right, man, and I love that because there is a lot of like nuance to it.
Yeah.
And I think that's why like a book like this is cool, because it's like. You hear people go like, oh, man, is he a good hang? Well, let's say you're freaking interpersonally kind of inept.
Yeah.
You're like, the hang. And then you're like, what the fuck do they mean?
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, or like, how deep does that go? And it goes pretty deep, I think,
Yeah. Yeah, I think that in that specific area, it's just like learning the base level people skills to be able to kind of read people on the fly and feel out, what is going to make this person gel with me more? What does this person value, or what can I glean from their demeanor, and how do I kind of, and it's just like little micro adjustments.
Yeah.
I'm sure y'all have that all the time, like rubbing shoulders with different people and different personality types, and sort of remaining, staying in a zone where it's like this, I can, be this way. Not like you're not being yourself, but, just like altering your behavior so that it works with everybody that you interact with.
It's like polite to do so.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. we do talk about, sometimes you have to be a chameleon to a certain extent, but still stay true to yourself. That doesn't mean be fake.
Yeah.
It just almost goes along with temper yourself a little bit. Like, obviously, religion and politics might not be the best thing to get,
Save it for Thanksgiving.
Save it for that. Yeah, that's where you want to do it. Right
That
there.
might need to replace either.
Maybe that's right.
Save it for your friend group.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, dude, that spawned so many good thoughts
I
because
know.
the world is
Same.
so vibrant and complex.
Yeah.
With like different personalities. Because, we would be writing this and Seth would have a good principle or something and he'd pitch it or talk about it, or we'd put it in there, or I'd put it in and we'd talk about it, and I'd be like, man, I don't know, dude, that's too cheesy, because I had this little musician on my shoulder going like, because I had buddies that were plenty successful and weren't mega people pleasers like me, weren't like chameleon to a fault, That's
Right.
me. I lean that way.
Right.
I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. And so,
Yeah, I know
I
what you
had the
mean.
other little person over here going like devil's advocate, going like, well, hey, man, and I'm like, dude, fair enough. So it was sometimes tough to find that nice, beautiful middle ground of like, hey, some of the stuff you're talking about, it's like, hey, this is a good thing, but you don't have to, you know?
Have a backbone, but be adaptable.
Dude.
At the same time,
That's
that's
good.
And it's so
tough
funny
line to draw,
sometimes
yeah.
one-
Yeah.
sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
Well,
What
it's
were you
like
saying?
sometimes one will, and in different scenarios.
Yeah.
Anyways, my brain it gets so complex.
I think we use the phrase "one size doesn't fit all" probably 5 times in there.
Probably.
That's great.
In the
Yeah,
book,
that's good.
and it's true. I mean, there are always exceptions to the rule.
Oh my
you know?
God.
Yeah, there's
But-
endless nuances.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
like, and when you're giving advice, you have to draw the line somewhere.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Okay. This is the
Right,
piece
right,
of
right,
advice.
right. Yeah.
If it
I
doesn't
love
apply to you, have the self-awareness to know it doesn't
Yeah.
apply to you.
Exactly.
And move along.
And at least then and then you can go like, you know what? I don't want to respond to their text or whatever,
Yeah.
It's like, but at
Yeah,
least
it's like-
know that like that's gonna piss somebody off that wants to write you a check,
Yeah.
And you don't want that.
No,
If you're trying to make
dude,
money,
not if
that
you're
is-
trying to pay rent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. We're interrupting the podcast because we want to show you kind of what's really going on here at Garden Groove. This is a place where people can come in, record podcasts like we're doing now, but we can also record full bands in here. We've also had some people record just drum content or just drum tracks. So there's all sorts of options here, and that's kind of where Jackson comes in.
How's it going, everybody? I'm Jackson Maddox. I am the head audio engineer here at Garden Groove. So we have a lot of great gear now that we are really, really excited to share. The sound in the room is awesome. We've been recording bands in here. We've had people come in and do drum cover videos. And the way that this studio is laid out is so that you can come in here and feel like you can do whatever you can imagine in here. So we would love for you to bring in your next project, whatever that may be, and we would love to just be a part of that and help you out.
And if you also just want to hang out, we're doing monthly master classes. That's every last Monday of the month. So every month we're going to feature a new artist and entrepreneur in Nashville, diving into different Ableton things, diving into different photography and all sorts of different stuff. So you can check that out on all of our socials, and it'd be good to meet you all. And have a good day. And
Signing off. That was good.
Well, working backwards a little bit,
Yeah.
maybe if both of y'all want to give kind of a brief rundown of how you got started in Nashville and like
Yeah,
where
please.
was the beginning for you when things really started to kind of get going,
Go ahead. I feel like I've heard Seth,
Let's see.
but I've not like heard it enough for it to really sink in. Like I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. So I moved to Nashville in 2003,
Oh, wow.
and I moved here to attend Belmont University.
Mm-hmm.
My parents were basically like, yeah, you can leave the state, but you got to go to school. And I knew I wanted to be involved in music in some way. I wrote songs and kind of did the artist thing when I was in high school. And
Alabama.
yeah, from Gadsden, Alabama.
Oh, cool.
Moved up here in 2003, went to school, graduated, bounced around a little. I moved to LA like 2 or 3 times, and
really?
it was really expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so wound up back in Nashville, which, I'm a Southern boy. I'm from Alabama, so it kind of, it fits. It fits.
Yeah.
LA's a little bit crazy for me. Yeah. I like to visit.
That's-
you know, like if
Yeah.
there's a gig
I
out
totally
there or
get
something,
that.
it's fun to go. But
everything in ration.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just kind of floated around for a while, and I was like, okay, how do I get and keep gigs? How do I make a living,
Yeah,
you know, as a
totally.
musician? And, you know, as an artist, sometimes it's hard to just jump out there and start making a living. You know, it's a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, I want to put out music. I want to do my own thing. And I've put out a couple of records, and I thought, how do I fund this? And so I got a random call one day from a guy, and he knew I played several instruments. I was more of a guitar player in high school, but he knew I played several
Was this
instruments.
during Belmont years?
So this was post Belmont years. And a corporate band that I play in, Nationwide Coverage, shout out Nationwide. I still play with them. I've actually got a gig with them next weekend, and when I'm not on the road, I do a lot of work with them.
Matt
Awesome
Casey.
guys, Matt Casey.
I heard you say that name a
awesome
bunch.
dude, yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool.
But he gave me an opportunity to play in this band that, you know, paid well and worked regularly. And I remember getting the call, and he went to Belmont as well. So that's kind of where the connection came there, which also we can talk about that more later. But I think networking and who you know is so important, because
It's everything.
this was years later that I had met this guy and made a good impression, and he called me. But what was funny is I'm like, okay, so you're calling me for guitar, right? He's like, no, you play keys too, don't you? And I'm like, yeah.
Been there.
So I locked myself in. We had a gig the next weekend, and I locked myself in my room and worked on the material all week. You know, and
Heck yeah.
back then I didn't really have the technique. I knew how to play, but I kind of played just to write songs, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean, just to get by.
Yeah, that's
And,
what I do.
which is great, you know, if you just need it for songwriting. But when you're playing in especially in that kind of band,
Was this
where
around 2010?
it's around 2010.
Okay.
Yep. How did you know that?
Well, because you
You're a psych.
you said in 08 you
Yeah.
moved to Belmont.
Yeah, that was around
Well, and my
2010,
brain
yeah.
is thinking like, what is this year, and how long have you been playing
Yeah.
piano?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
like in that capacity.
In that
Of
capacity,
like, so,
yeah.
hey, here's like $500 or whatever.
Yeah.
Go play and make it good, or
Yeah.
we're gonna be mad.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That was
that's
it,
what
yeah.
was that 2010? This
2010.
is,
Yeah.
15 years, right?
Yeah,
Wow.
15 years
Wow.
ago.
I was just curious.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I started playing that gig, and, you know, I just made it a point for like a year to get really good at keys, at least to where I didn't feel like I was playing by eye. You know what I mean? Like,
yes, 100%.
don't stop
Put
believing.
the stickers on.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, the stickers with the notes. Yeah,
Exactly. A, B,
yeah.
each chord.
Transpose
Yeah.
to C. Transpose
Yeah,
to C.
So, you know, which also, just to make another point, I think that's why it's so important to be versatile and diversify yourself and work hard on other things, because never in my life, I don't think anybody can predict what their career is going to look like. I just think it's impossible. Even if you have a goal, I didn't know that keys was going to become my primary source of income, you know, because that's what ended up happening. And I was also singing in that band, and we had another keyboard player that would come in and play occasionally. He was playing with an artist named Alaina, awesome singer, and he was leaving to go to a different gig, and he called me and he said, "Hey man, are you interested in the road thing?" And I was kind of curious about it. I was like, "Yeah, it'd be kind of cool to be on a tour bus and you know, go around the country and play shows." I was like, "Yeah," and he goes, "Well, you got a week to learn the music. Like, I'm going here. Gig's yours if you want it." And so that was
It's
kind
a
of my
recurring
first
theme of one solid week to work on the material.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
that's-
yeah.
How many hours a day
Yeah.
were you playing piano?
23.
Totally. One for sleeping.
Yeah,
and
one
eating.
for sleeping.
Just put the pillow on the piano.
Yeah.
Just for efficiency.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But just to wrap it up, that gig was kind of the first gig that I had that was I had done a couple of one-offs with like a guy named James Otto, who's an awesome singer. But that was the first gig where I was actually regularly on the road and touring and on
What year
planes
was
and
that?
television shows. We did American Idol, and that was probably 2012.
So- Were you playing with her on American Idol before because she came in like second place, right?
She came, yep, I think runner-up to Scotty McCreery. And
What was that year?
yep,
That was
it
the
that
first
year.
season my family watched as a family.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
wow.
so
Yeah.
I remember Lauren Alaina a lot. Actually, I was interning at a studio, and she had a session there one time, and I was like, "Oh, I got to tell my parents."
Oh, that's
And
awesome,
my parents
yeah.
said, "Oh my gosh, Lauren Alaina!" Like, 'cause
Yeah.
she was like our family pick during
Yeah.
that season.
That's
so
cool.
that's crazy. So you were playing on the show?
So
they already
we-
assembled the band.
No, so after she got off of the show, she assembled a band in Nashville,
I
and we
got
went
you.
back to guest
I got
and
you.
play on the show. And
So cool.
that was a lot of fun. I think that might have been my first TV performance. So I was nervous. I was playing banjo on it. So
Really?
Wait, you said
That
you
was-
went back to Gadsden?
Wow.
What? Oh, did you? I'm sorry.
what did I say?
Oh, I thought you said like. Never mind.
I don't even know
I
what I
thought
said.
you said Gadsden. I was wondering the tie-in. Maybe you didn't say Gadsden.
Maybe I didn't. I don't know. Anyway,
Go back to the tape.
Yeah, go back to the tape. We're going to review the footage.
Yeah, sorry.
Did you tour at all before this kind of explosion? Like, did you ever tour before Belmont or during Belmont?
no, I did a lot of like coffee shop gigs and churches, and I would just go play wherever I could play my own music, cover stuff.
And that was 2012, and
I
this
was
is
doing, like, guitar.
2024.
Yep.
So 12 years of professional big time
Yeah.
touring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, he's my buddy, but this is interesting stuff to me too.
Yeah,
That's
That's
Yeah,
always
it's
the
like that.
thing. Like, we never
yeah.
interview our friends.
Not in this way.
Yeah, not in this way.
Yeah.
So just to tie into Matt,
Keep going. I love it, dude. This is great.
I left that gig with Lauren to go play for these guys, the Swan Brothers, and they were another TV band. They were on The Voice, got third place on The Voice. Awesome dudes. And that's where we met. So I'll
Yeah,
let you
that's
take it
right.
from here. For me, one gig kind of led to another gig, and it was all about just making those connections on the road and meeting people. And
Yeah.
they would call and say, "Hey, are you looking for work?" And maybe one band was slowing down, and
Right.
the other band was picking up. And you just kind of navigate those things as you go.
Stair-stepping.
But
And that was about, 20,
we met in 2014, 15,
15 maybe?
maybe 15.
And this is 9 years later?
years ago.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow. So 9, 10, 11, 12. So 3 of those years prior-ish. And then...
Yeah. I feel like I made that way too long, by the way. I could have said all
No,
that in
that
like 2
was
sentences.
really concise,
Dude, literally
actually.
not at all.
Okay, good.
That was a lot of years.
Yeah, a
That's
lot of
pretty
years to cover,
concise.
yeah.
Yeah, do not
Well,
worry.
I was so I didn't want to keep pulling it out of him, but I was so curious too. Yeah, sorry, moderators.
Oh no,
That was
no
great,
worries.
man. Yeah, I didn't know that much. Yeah, so 2015-ish,
Yep.
and that was my first touring gig, and so now I'm trying to think like how long I've actually toured professionally too. So what is that? How many years ago did we say that is? 9?
9 years.
So you're about
Yeah.
12, I'm 9. So
Yeah, 12 years.
yeah, man,
Or
respect.
9
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. We put these names in the wrong order. You're the elder.
I'm a little older than him too. And we were driving over here, and he's like, "You're my senior."
Are you
Wait a
40
second,
or
you're saying-
39 or
39. No, 38. Wait, how old am I? I'm 38.
38.
I'll be 39 in June. Yeah.
we gotta have a blowout for your 40, man.
Let's go.
Yeah, there you go.
It'll be a big party.
Yeah. So we met around then. I was born in Texas, but I grew up in Oklahoma, and I got a call. Joe Henderson, shout out to Joe, love you, dude. I met him through playing. God, there's 10 degrees. I'm trying to distill down into one sentence. I played a gig with an artist. That artist knew Joe. Joe was playing drums for the Swan Brothers, and Joe was playing with Seth, and they had their own thing going. They were on the Carrie Underwood tour, Storyteller tour.
Cool.
And their bass player, they parted ways with, stepped down. I don't know the situation, but they called me because Joe recommended me from the gig that I played with him. And they said, "Hey, we're sure looking for somebody." And Joe was the band leader. And interject here if I get any of this wrong. And so I guess Joe brought my name up to them or y'all. And I'm kind of curious. Do you remember that or no? Was he like, "Hey, there's this guy," and everybody else in the band was like, "We don't know him." Like, no way.
I think the brothers knew of you, right? Or
Okay.
you-
Well,
yeah.
Joe brought me up to
Yeah.
the
Okay.
band.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was just curious. I didn't know how it went. If you
I'm
were
trying
in
to
there
remember,
and
yeah.
He's like, "Y'all know this Matt guy?" And you're like, "Hell no, dude. I got this buddy."
No, I
Jim."
was like, I got a feeling I'm gonna write a book with this guy one day. You guys need to hire him.
You
Yeah,
knew
you
about
felt it deep within.
Yeah.
Totally.
Dude, so, anyways, I get the call from Zach, and he said, "Hey, Joe played with you, this and that," and I was like, "Wow!" And at that time, looking back, it's like, "Wow, that was a cool connection." I didn't even really think about that at the time. We had fun. We were in Lawrence, Kansas, and we ate at Zen Zero. We ate some noodles, and we
Lawrence
just had a
is
good
great.
time.
Yep.
It's so great.
Lawrence is great.
And we had such a good time. And I was asking him stories about the road because I'd never toured and I wanted to.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, it was my first big gig. I get the call, and I ran it by my wife at the time, and she was supportive. And I was like, "Man, that's awesome." And I remember going, "Cool." And I had just a couple days, 2 or 3 days, and they're like, "Hey, learn these tunes." And dude, it was my first ever. I was living in Oklahoma, and we went to sound check, and I remember the room we were in, and I remember being like, "Wow, they just didn't have big rehearsal rooms like that there." And Nashville's one of the big 3, and when you live in an outer lying area, y'all know because y'all aren't from here, right?
Yeah.
It's like Nashville, and it is. Don't get me wrong, it's as cool and as big and as intimidating today as it was then. But
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about it then, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, "Oh man, I worked on these songs. I hope it's good enough,
Yeah.
And I go in there and I did a good job, and they were like, "Hey man, sounds like the record. Like, let's go." And then, dude, the next day, maybe even that night, we had bus call.
Yep.
and we go, and y'all stop me. I don't even remember the original question.
How did you getting started?
So that's it. So I'm nailing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You are on it.
So, yeah, we're on the track.
Oops-a-daisy.
And it's kind of like one gig kind of led to another for you as well.
One gig led to another, yep. And word of mouth and connections, absolutely. And, and then you spend time in the game, 12 and 9 or whatever it's been, and you meet more people, and more people get a sense about you and what you're about. And Instagram can kind of amplify that a little bit. They go like, wow, he sounds good, at least on a camera and after 100 takes. But you know what I'm saying.
Or they just see pictures, you're out doing it. You're out on the road.
He's working.
Oh, he's working,
Right,
so he must.
Oh, he's drinking coffee with that person. I like them too. They seem like they get along. Little tiny micro.
Yeah.
Might even be subconscious, It's like you just,
Totally.
Absolutely. One gig led to another.
Marketing,
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. One gig led to another, and here you go. Now, for the record, I don't know about you, but a ton of ups and downs, and a fair amount of them self-inflicted.
Yeah,
I've made a lot of mistakes, and we tried to, again, throw some in there, and some giant mistakes, man, and that's another big part of my heart in the book. And anytime we do a clinic, I'm like, I don't look for it, but I'm like, okay, who's that musician that's like working hard and they're on the cusp of something great, and they look like maybe they're headed for like the track's end over there, like mine did, and I was too stupid to see that they ended. I'm like, I'm gonna catch him and go like, no.
Yeah, I've been there, brother. Go this way. Yeah. You're not good. I know it looks great, but
I know.
it's not what you think it is.
It's cool, but drink a little less. I promise.
Totally.
You won't regret not drinking as much as you wanted to.
Yeah, that's. I think that's one of the things with following the music path is being able to take those mistakes on the chin and accept when they happen.
But also like there's a lot of like entrepreneur type people that are just like just anticipate it.
Yeah.
Don't like conjure it, but like know that it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're gonna miss notes. You're gonna play wrong notes. You're not gonna plug in for some shows. You're gonna be out of tune.
Yeah.
You're gonna accidentally say the wrong thing from time to time. Like
I
nobody's
forget
perfect,
that.
and it's like, how do you treat those mistakes? Are you gonna?
Yeah.
And someone said something really good one time where it's like, it was more about just like saying bad things about people. Like if someone bugged you the other day, you got 3 times where you can talk about it. 4th time, can't do it.
I like that.
Like,
I like
so
that.
if you made a mistake, like talk about it 3 times.
Yep.
4th time, it's gone.
I like
go.
that.
It's past.
Wow.
Like
I need to freaking.
it's got to go.
Yep.
You made a mistake.
I obsess over even
I
small
was just about to
mistakes.
say,
Because you think that's where like you can, because again, I guess the pushback is like you think you can keep learning from it if you keep reliving it, but it's like it already happened.
Right.
Talk about it 3 times, learn from it, let it go.
Exactly. And it's like either learn from it, but don't keep complaining about it because that's not helping.
Yeah, turning the pain into misery.
Yeah, what do they call that? There was somebody talking about that.
I think I know.
You know what I'm talking about?
and my
You
mom's a
keep
therapist.
revisiting.
Yeah, my mom's a therapist.
Sure, yeah.
And speaking about therapy earlier,
Should have her on the
she's
podcast.
taught me. Yeah, we should. She would love it. She taught me a word that I use and I think about often because I'm guilty of it. Ruminating.
Yeah.
Is that what you were about?
That's right,
Yeah,
yeah.
rumination.
That
And-
came to mind when you said that.
Yeah, and you can ruminate on something, and it's not healthy. I remember we were doing we're playing at Nissan Stadium and opening for Garth Brooks. Not trying to flex, but
That's
that was
pretty
That's when I played with
crazy.
y'all.
So it was the year before when it got rained
yeah, it
out.
got rained
remember?
out.
Wow.
And so we walk out on stage and, opening up for Garth with an Opry thing. It was like an Opry band performance, but they were using the artist that I play with, Chris Band.
Cool.
And I remember there's a lick that I play. In the very first song, I botched it.
Yeah.
And I thought about that for
Yeah,
months
that's
because I'm like, this is one of the biggest things that I've had the chance to do. And
Right.
also, I hope they're not listening because I don't think anybody noticed it, which brings me to my next point. A lot of times I feel like obsessing over those things. Like, I mean, obviously you can learn from mistakes and be like, okay, maybe I need to practice that lick a little bit more. But obsessing over it, I'm not going to say always, but generally it's 10 times bigger in your mind
Totally.
than it is in anybody else's. Because most of the time,
You're the one that felt it.
I'm the one that felt it.
And
Everybody
the
else
bass
is
is
focused
buried
on
in the mix.
I'm kidding. But yeah, everybody else is focusing on what they're doing.
Yeah.
The bass
Right.
player, the drummer, they're just trying to cover their. And so,
And it's a live experience.
It's a live
It's
experience.
almost like they
Mistakes
want
happen.
that realness.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's
so,
true. That's totally true. Yeah.
But yeah, I need to take that advice. 3 times is all I should have.
3 times.
Yeah.
I love it, dude.
And then I move on.
I love it, man. And stop me at any point. I don't mean to keep
No,
drawing
no,
this
no.
subject out, but I think about that and I go like, think about the gig I'm on now. And we're playing big shows, and I run the sets a bunch. And I made a goal, I think this week, to run the set. We're doing 2 different set lists, but they overlap enough that it's like one big set list, kind of. It's not like 2 independent. Anyway, so I was like, I kind of want to run it once every day this week because it's the first show of the tour.
Yeah.
And then from then I can pull back. And part of that is like, okay, am I being obsessive? But then I'm like, no, because I do know. So I guess I say all this to say, for me, I'm just trying to find that line of like personal accountability, but then also allow myself to be human.
Yeah.
Because it's like
Yeah.
if I can cut down and because I've seen both. I've seen myself. I've seen myself work hard enough to get rid of those tiny mistakes and have like really good shit, like A plus shows.
Yeah.
Which is, so I try to find a range that I shoot for, A plus shows. I love that. For me, on pop gigs. Now, if I'm doing some other type of gig and it's loose, it's like, dude, let's just go. It's fun.
Yeah.
But those types of gigs where it's like a lot of people, a lot of expectation, my fellow bandmates, obviously an artist, I take it very seriously. And so it's like, I want it to be as best I can. And I think about these guys like the Michael Jordans and the Kobe Bryants. Not that I know a ton about them, but I think about that. And I'm like, okay, I'll never be, whatever, but I can have my own version of
That
like
mentality. Yeah.
mentality and greatness and whatever. I'm not saying that about myself. I'm just saying I can strive to be. But then, like, where is that point where I go like, hey, Matt, it's okay. Like, dude, you literally practiced till your fingers fell off and you made a tiny mistake. So sometimes I personally struggle with that line of like, well, hey, maybe not. Maybe I can push even harder. Not to the point of hurting myself. I don't want to do that.
I know what you're saying.
But like, man, what if I
100%?
ran that set one more time? Because I've done it and ran it once more, and that night went, I'm glad I ran that one last time because then I could jump a little higher on that part where I jumped because I was like, I got this.
Well, and that reminds me of a line in the book where we say, we've all probably stayed up all night hanging with friends or playing video games or doing
Right.
something. So why not spend that time,
Yeah.
pouring it into something that's going to be...
It's hard to know what that line is.
Yeah.
It really is for me. I struggle with it.
Currently, right now, in basically every aspect of my life, I'm fighting that battle.
Yeah.
Like,
And you know
how
what?
do I be hard enough on myself to keep going forward and to expecting greatness from yourself, or expecting
Yes.
like, I have to achieve these goals. I have this goal, and they have to get done, and I want to get them done in the quickest amount of time.
I have
possible.
set this deadline, this arbitrary deadline for
I'm
myself.
going to do this
is
in my
how it
life
should
and
be.
this, and it's like having these like
Right,
knowing
yeah.
your end point, or knowing like where you're trying to get, even with just yourself, like your own personal standard for yourself.
Yes.
It's a good trait to have that, because
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
that don't have that aren't doing what you're doing. But at some point, it becomes detrimental to yourself,
I
where
know.
you're like, I'm never good enough for me.
Yeah.
Because
I'm
I
robbing
never-
all of the joy out of what I'm doing.
because I'm never going to do everything 100% perfect. And if I do it 99% perfect, I still am bothered by that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
But like you were saying, like set goals for the future.
Yeah.
But it's never going to be exactly how you're
Exactly.
imagining it.
Oh
so
my
change.
God.
Yeah.
So allow it to be
Yeah.
a little bit different, but you're on that same road.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's more about the journey.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hey, side note, not to throw a wrench in this, but we just met.
Yeah.
I want to hear a little bit about y'all's.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I would love
That's
to.
all
Maybe
good.
some people that are watching this
Yeah,
don't know.
I don't know if we've ever talked about like
We've never been asked that question.
Yeah. Oh, do you want me to?
Yeah, go
ahead?
for it, yeah.
Okay. So my background, I started playing music back when I was in probably middle school. Played in bands in middle school and high school, or a band throughout that time. Didn't do a lot of gigging, just kind of got together and played. And then
What was your primary?
bass, and I got volunteered to be the lead singer.
Hey.
Bass is primary?
Bass was my
Really?
first instrument because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wanted to be in a
Wow.
band. I wanted the gig before I even knew how to play.
Yeah.
And so I bought a bass,
killer.
and I was like, well, everybody who's 11 either plays drums because they're lucky, or they're playing guitar.
yeah.
My
Yeah.
parents aren't going to let me get a drum kit.
Right.
And guitar feels like
That's
a
right.
lot.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, if I
Yeah,
play
dude.
bass, I don't know anybody who's in 5th grade playing bass. And so I got a bass like probably the following year when I was in like 6th grade, started playing around with it and, kind of figuring it out. And then I joined this band with 2 other buddies, and they asked me if I wanted to sing, and I was like, oh, I guess I could carry a tune. And then I sang a song, and they were like, you're going to be our singer.
Dude, you became Sting.
Yeah, I did.
there you go.
Funny enough, the first song we ever played was Message in a Bottle.
Yeah,
that's great,
That's
man.
the first song we ever learned. And so from there, I started getting more into playing guitar, and I kind of switched to there. Throughout high school, I was just all guitar.
Why did you leave us?
I think you know what it was? I got into the White Stripes, and they don't have a bass player.
right.
And I was like, well, if I want to learn these songs, I need to pick up the guitar. So I had this old acoustic, and then eventually upgraded to an electric and got an amp, and started playing guitar more and more. And then about college, I started getting into production, and I was like, just wanted to record myself. And so I bought a bunch of like kind of just the base level package that you need to be able to record yourself, and started recording myself. And then other people were like, well, would you record me? And like, I'll give you some money for it. And I was like, oh yeah, I could.
Never thought about that one.
Yeah.
I could do that.
Heck
Sure,
yeah,
come
dude.
on over. So I would record people in my bedroom for like $5 an hour.
Heck
Like,
yeah.
I was
Nice.
Heck yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing. but
Entrepreneur
I'll
right there.
record you.
Yeah.
Yeah. and
Was this
then-
high school or?
No, that was college.
Okay.
And $5 an hour was still
Hey.
low back then,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like it was pre-inflation of
Yeah.
like pre-COVID inflation.
Yeah,
It was
you're
just
getting
like,
paid to make
yeah, I was
Good
just like,
idea. Yeah.
if you're gonna come over for 2 hours and pay me $10 to record you, I don't know what
Hey,
I'm
that's a
doing.
little
That's
Caesar's
Taco
hot
Bell.
and ready
Yeah,
right there.
exactly. Totally. Yeah, that was back then. You could go to McDonald's and only spend $6.50. You
Yeah.
know? And
Mississippi.
this is this is in like 2015, and so from there, I did an internship here at Station West Studios over in Berry Hill. That was my going into my senior year of college. From there, lost all motivation to do anything college related, and only wanted to make records. And just I was recording everybody that would let me
Cool.
record them.
Nice.
I had like
Ate up with it.
kids from the neighborhood, like high schoolers, would just come knock on my back door. And I'm like, how do you keep finding out about me? And they're like, oh, our friends the other street over told us about you.
Well,
Will you
yeah.
record us? And I'm
Again,
like,
word
okay.
of mouth. Yeah.
Yeah, it was literally like they
Never.
would be walking up to my house, knocking on my door, like, "Hey, can we come record?"
Yeah.
And so I started paying like half my bills just from recording.
I
people.
love that.
Yeah, and so then dropped out of college, worked at Guitar Center for a year, came to Nashville, did.
Bought the gear you needed with the discount.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. Oh, I made use of
Smart.
that discount. For
Yeah.
sure.
Oh yeah, dude.
And then went to audio engineering school, and then I did the Blackbird program, and then on a whim had an opportunity to move to Denver, got the college band back together. So I had a band in college, and we started playing more gigs than we'd ever played before.
Yeah.
And
Did they move to Denver?
no, I had my original drummer was living in Denver. He's more of a
Wow.
guitar player now.
Yeah.
So he played guitar and sang. I played guitar and sang most of the stuff. And he sang lead on a few things. And then we added a bass player that we had. It was a mutual friend, through a mutual friend. And then drummer off Craigslist. And had like the dream team for a few years.
That's cool.
Did a tour. Ended the tour in Lawrence, Kansas. Which is... That was cool. That was like was the only time I've ever toured, and we hit all of our hometowns in the South.
Oh, that's
We were
so
all
fun.
Southern.
So
Except for
Denver, how
Denver.
about that airport?
Dude, I don't know.
Mysterious.
Freaks me out.
Aliens.
I see every time you go to the Denver airport. One, it's like you get out of downtown, and then there's just like 20 minutes of nothing. You know?
Yeah,
And
it's totally.
like,
They
it
put
just
it in
feels.
such an
It's
eerie
just-
spot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
everything on the east side of Denver, it just looks aesthetically looks like Kansas. It's just nothing.
Yes.
Just no trees, no hills,
Yeah.
nothing. And so you just drive, for like 10, 15 minutes on that highway, and then you get to the airport. It's very weird. And then there's the horse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which killed the artist, right?
Yeah, the artist that
It fell down on the person that made
fell
the
on
horse.
the guy that
Oh
made
my
it.
god. That is
It was
creepy.
its final its final action before it was put in its place
right.
was to kill the creator. So very eerie airport up there.
Yeah.
But actually that leads into Taylor because
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
moved
from-
back because I was like, all right, this is about as far as I could take this. There was like 2 guys in Denver that are sort of actually doing well.
Gotcha.
All the legacy studios are barely hanging on, like the classic recording
Yeah.
studios. And there was 2 guys that both had nice basements that were built out as studios, just like there are so many in Nashville. Those 2 guys were the ones that were killing it. And I was like, well, if I'm going to make a living doing this, I have to beat those guys. And I'm a long way from beating those guys gear-wise, setup-wise. I was like,
Right.
well, I've already got some some of a portfolio together.
Yeah.
What if I went back to Nashville? Because I was initially intimidated by Nashville, and I was just like,
Oh, dude, same.
when I got
Still am.
when I got the opportunity to go to Denver, I was like, you know what? I don't know how I'd stack up against everybody here.
Yeah.
And I went to Denver, and it was like I got to be a little bit kind of a bigger fish in a smaller pond.
Sure.
Not that I was like the man, but like people around town started knowing me and like knowing my band, and so it was kind of a nice trial run because I got to learn a lot of lessons. A lot of mistakes were made in Denver, and then when I was ready, I was like, now I'm going to go back to Nashville. And I've been back here since May, and I've had more progress in all of my career
Heck yeah,
in the last 10 months I've been here.
That's awesome.
Super quick. Yeah.
Yeah, like everything was like setting me up to be ready to actually be in Nashville.
man.
So I really look at it as time well spent. Even though I wasn't in Nashville like building my business or whatever, it was like I learned a lot of the things. I didn't make those mistakes in Nashville.
Right. Yeah.
And I was able to come to Nashville with the mindset that I really needed to have in terms of like work ethic and sort of how hard I needed to be working at it and making the connections and things like that. So I think it was really great. And
There's
now,
almost this element of like the universe will catch you. You know, it's like the timing and all that stuff. I don't know. It's like I couldn't write it out.
Right,
But
yeah.
it feels that way.
Sure, yeah.
You know? So it's like, read the book, but man, also just like you're gonna do your own thing, man.
Well,
you know?
like you said, life is going to send you in. You're not going to realize what your career looks
Right.
like. You know,
You can't.
I didn't realize when I moved to Colorado, I was like, oh yeah, maybe I'll build a destination studio in the mountains like that one day. You know, I had this whole like 20-year plan, and then I got there and I was like, you know what? This isn't the best spot for me because this isn't where I can take this as far as I actually can.
So when you came back here, that's when y'all met?
Through a Colorado friend.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that kind of
Yeah.
segues into you.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say it's like a lot of the times when we try to think about what we're gonna do in the future, we mirror it and we kind of base it off of what other people have done.
Yeah.
You're never gonna do what other people have
You're
done
not them.
because it's you doing
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
That's
So-
well put.
it's a different time. It's a different
Yeah. So
Set of
you try to put
circumstances.
yourself in those shoes.
Hundreds of circumstances, really.
dude.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, thousands. Because every
My
every
brain,
day,
I
every
know.
time something happens, it's a slight differentiation of your circumstance to
Dude,
anybody
I think
else's.
I'm so sorry.
You're fine.
Dude, this
You're totally fine.
that reminds me of the gig I'm on. It's like I remember meeting the drummer Jake via Jamcard, the LinkedIn for Musicians app. Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
I posted on there. I think like, hey, I'm in Nashville because I was living in Oklahoma. This was years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I was like, I'm gonna be in Nashville, trying to meet more people there. Let me know. And I don't think anybody responded, but Jake did. And he just happened to, see it or be on there and went like, you know what? We're off tour right now or whatever. And he was like, dude, I'll be around. Let's grab coffee. Anyways, we met for coffee. We hit it off. We vibed. Didn't think nothing of it. It literally was just 2 musicians. I was like, man, cool. I know one more musician there.
Yep.
And y'all know how it is. It's like
Right.
network, but it's like you don't force networking. You just allow it to happen. You go meet for coffee, and if something happens, it does. But if it doesn't, if nothing else, you had some good coffee and met a cool person. And that really was the what I was thinking. Left a year later, the band leader for Luke, I had met in Oklahoma 15 years prior. We kept in touch over Instagram, et cetera, et cetera. Circumstances worked out to where they needed a bass player. Anyways, a couple of the guys in the camp knew me from other stuff, from Lauren's gig, and they so what I'm saying is when the band leader brought me up, they vouched for me. But then the last person was Jake. Jake's told this story in clinics, and he's like, man, I remember the band leader. He said, hey, bass and drums, man, those are the dudes that lock.
the core.
It's like
Yeah.
everything sits on top of it. And he's like, what's your, quote unquote gun to your head, like who, because they were considering a handful of people. And he's like, man, I met that guy. We vibed well. We laughed at whatever he said.
Yeah.
And so those little things, man, how in the hell, like I would have never thought that would have. So anyway, yeah, man, there's just like the universe is at play too.
Yes.
Work your ass off, but dude, some of
I
it.
think it's you find your way into your own little lane, and we're
Well put.
so funny. We always find a way to be around people that are just like us. It's so strange. how
Yeah.
It always works out that way. We find, we magnetize, you're very entrepreneurial, and you love the audio engineering side of stuff, and, that's the kind of stuff that I'm slowly trying to get more into.
Love
You
that.
don't
So,
give yourself
you-
enough credit, but that's okay.
Yeah, tell me your story.
Yeah,
I want to hear
please.
your
Yeah,
story.
yeah. Sorry, buddy.
So I moved here 3 years ago from Colorado, and
Originally from there?
originally from in Boulder, Colorado, And I taught a lot back home. So I taught maybe 20, 30 students at most at one time. Drum lessons. Yep.
Nice.
Drummer. And yeah, I played with a brass band back home, Guerrilla Fanfare.
Hey.
And we played,
Nice.
we played everything from literally cemeteries to Red Rocks.
Yes.
Like a beautiful blend of things.
That's so funny.
Because it's
Tell me about the cemetery.
so,
You're the only
That's
musician I've
what-
ever met that's done that. Tell
but
me.
it's only gonna happen if it's like second line New Orleans-y type music because it's a
Yeah.
celebration of
I feel
life.
you. Okay,
Gotcha.
okay.
Yeah.
It's a New Orleans
Now
style
it clicks.
funeral.
Totally.
Now
Yeah.
it makes sense.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank
Funny.
you.
So yeah, like you're
It's like
celebrating
some black
life.
metal. And
Yeah, setting
Yeah.
up in the cemetery.
So
We
there's
shouldn't have been there. Sorry.
so there's one story we were at the cemetery and we were playing as the casket was going down
Oh my gosh.
and we were supposed to start off
I'm going down, down.
we were supposed to start off one of the songs like bum 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 and it's supposed to be a trombone, but it was so cold out that the trombone froze. So the casket's going down and everybody's very somber and they're ready to like get ramped up with this New Orleans
Yeah.
music, so they're ready to go and it's like and so the tuba player Zach, I think either he took the trombone or he did it with his sousaphone.
Yeah.
And it's bum 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 and then played the song.
That's amazing.
But so we would do stuff like that. We'd play breweries. We played the beer garden in Boulder. We played that all the time. With all like the college kids would get trashed, and it was Boot Tuesday, so you'd get a liter of IPA and just
Oh, that's awesome.
And then we played with like
breweries.
and then we played with some DJs. So like we got to play with Alaina, who's a big EDM artist,
Yeah.
and then Grizz, who's another big EDM artist. We got to play with them too.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So some unique experiences. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, that's cool.
So that's where I really started, then moved to Nash 3 years ago. And I kind of knew I didn't necessarily want to go into the freelance scene. Like, as fun as it was, and that's really where, like, my biggest, most fun memories came from, was the freelance scene. But, I don't know. There's something about this.
Yeah. You felt the pull
Garden
in
Groove?
another direction.
Yeah, it's like, I think I'm such a homebody. I couldn't do the touring stuff necessarily.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm a mega homebody too.
Are you really?
As funny as it sounds,
Yeah.
Anyways,
But-
keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, I make the same cup of coffee every morning, same cup of tea every night.
Routine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bed, like I need my routine. Otherwise,
You can do a lot of
yeah.
damage with a good routine. You know,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can,
Yeah, you can
make
get
a
a lot
lot of
done.
good
Totally.
things happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
But yeah, here, so I'm running this Garden Groove.
Awesome, by the way, man. Congrats.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
It's so fun to do. And still figuring some stuff out about it. Like, we're gonna start growing the master classes more, so we're making a website for the master classes.
Nice.
So, hopefully get you guys back if you guys are up for it.
100%, dude. I'm flattered y'all had us.
It's fun.
This is incredible.
It's
Yeah,
so
this
fun.
is awesome.
Really.
Yeah. And then I'm working on my own like live looping type stuff.
I've been seeing
Cool.
some of those videos, yeah.
Yeah, we just recorded a like live playthrough music video for some of that stuff, and then working on my synthesizer skills.
Yeah.
As Jackson
Cool.
is well aware of my struggles with those.
Fun.
Yeah.
He was,
But yeah.
he was fun.
Y'all were jamming.
Yeah, we were.
It's fun. It's totally fun.
We had a good time.
But yeah, that's me.
Yeah, here you are, 3 years.
Yeah.
Here, full time.
Mm-hmm.
When did I actually don't even know this? When did Garden Groove start being built? I know when it finished.
I think it was. I was talking to someone about this earlier. I think it was like early or late 2021. I think. I think
Really?
it took like a year and a half to be finished.
Yeah.
Soundproofing and acoustic panels and all that. Yeah,
Well, we love what y'all are doing. We love this. This is fun.
Yeah, man.
This is cool.
Yeah. Well,
it's so fun.
It's funny in the book we talk about how vast your gig experiences can be,
Yeah,
and I think it's in the opening, maybe in the prelude or whatever, we talk about how we've played every gig from the shoe department at a department store, which was one of my early gigs. I was set up literally around the Crocs and the Sperry's, and I'd be playing my guitar.
Wild.
But I say that to say
You've never played a cemetery.
I've never played a cemetery, so I'm going to take that out of the book. I mean, I can't compete with a cemetery. We're going to change that. I can't compete with
Revoked
a cemetery.
audio book. We're pulling it off.
Yeah, great.
That's funny.
Does not get any better than that. That's awesome.
I had one gig was a corn themed party, and they were
Like the
good.
band or like the
No,
a
like
good
the,
question.
like the
With a K or a C?
with a C. Everything was corn based, and they were going to. The guy didn't end up showing up, but they were going to have the creator of the corn subreddit from Reddit show up and give
awesome.
a speech.
Wow.
And so they had corn pizza, popcorn, corn chips, elote, like the corn.
Yeah.
Everything was corn related, corn based.
Remember that little boy was talking about corn on the internet?
Yeah, corn.
It's corn.
Yeah,
that's right.
Exactly. That was an interesting one. It was funny to explain that to people. Like, what, you're playing what now? Yeah, it's a celebration of corn.
I love it.
First
It makes sense
annual-
here.
Yeah, I feel like playing in all these bands. You play at like the Petunia Festival.
Yeah, the Apple Festival.
Yeah, the Hogmoss Festival.
Yeah.
We did the Luling Watermelon Thump, I believe is what it's
Wow,
called.
Luling, Texas.
Say that
Yeah,
5 times
yes.
fast.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and
LWT.
dude, of course, the biggest watermelons I've ever seen, and we played the watermelon crawl, and yes, one of those melons sold for like 5,000. I don't know,
Wow.
a lot of money.
That's
And
crazy.
I was like, I've never been to anything like this. And then I had some Texas barbecue, like that I had not really had at this
Yeah.
place. I wish I remembered. And it was so good. It was a vibe. So on the subject of
Yeah.
interesting
Random.
gigs.
Yeah.
Random.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we got the Tomato Fest here.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
It got
to that.
rained out really bad last year.
Dude,
they still did it.
it's
but
either-
it
You
was-
would think that would help things. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to grow, right?
Stupid. Sorry.
There's actually a really good Texas barbecue place right up Gallatin Pike called Shotgun Willie's. Taylor and I went. Yeah,
that out.
Super
so good.
Brisket was really good.
Shotgun Willie's. That's a name of a bar in Australia.
Oh,
It's
really?
really.
Anyways, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's
Makes
actually
sense,
a
though, for
question
some
that we
reason.
always
And
ask.
what?
It makes sense that it,
It
would
makes
be.
sense. Do they love country music there?
Yeah, I met the Wolf
Really?
Brothers. They won. I think they won Australia's Got Talent.
Heck
Yeah.
yeah.
And they
The Naked Brothers band?
no the Wolf Brothers.
No, but their last name is Wolf.
No, that's not who it is though.
Okay.
They didn't win Australia. They were
Aren't
They
they
won
wolf?
Australia's Got Talent. They're from Tasmania, which is like the redneck
yeah.
part of Australia.
Sure.
They're like the Australian rednecks, and that was when I was interning, and they were there for a session. They were working on like demoing out new ideas, and got to talk to them. They were like, you could just tell like, this is what I think of Australia. Like this is what I picture when I meet in Australia. They're just
Yeah,
rowdy, loud,
yeah.
funny.
Well, now I'm gonna picture the Naked Brothers. Like, were they from
Totally.
Australia?
No,
No.
I think they were LA.
Okay.
they're from LA.
Very
But
different.
yeah. Oh yeah. That one question that we always ask everybody is, what is like your go-to hole in the wall? It could be hole in the wall. It could be more popular, but like, you're without a doubt like you would eat there anytime in Nashville. Nashville food recommendation. It can be underrated. It can be Hattie B's if that's what it is for you.
I
I was
have
going
to
to say
say,
Hattie B's is off limits.
Okay, Hattie B's is on.
So, sadly, I don't know if this answer counts, but
Okay.
the place that was my little, it wasn't a hole in the wall, but it was like my favorite food in Nashville, just closed down like a year or two ago. Whiskey Kitchen.
I've heard of Whiskey.
They had the best buffalo chicken pizza you will ever have. And I wish I could get a hold of the recipe
Yeah.
and like get someone, because I mean, it was just perfect. Like
Yeah.
the celery and the, oh man,
The
thin
crust.
crust, like crunchy. It was just,
Yeah.
I used to go there way too much and order
Rest
that
in
pizza.
peace,
Rest
man.
R.I.P. Whiskey Kitchen.
Do you have
know?
anything like? Is there a second contender that you've eaten at
Man.
that's filling the void for you, or?
Well, now I'm thinking about barbecue since you
Oh,
brought up the,
yeah.
was it Shotgun Willie's?
Yeah,
Is that what it's
Shotgun
called?
Willie's, yeah.
I love me some Martin's barbecue.
Martin's
Yep.
is great.
Martin's
We
is
went
great.
there once.
Yep, we
Yeah.
went. Yep.
Peg leg pork.
Peg
Peg
leg
leg
pork
pork.
is good.
That's my
Yep.
top pick.
Yep.
I love.
We
peg
talked about
pork.
that last time.
We
Yeah.
played the day before yesterday. We played on Friday at Whiskey Jam at Loft. What's the upstairs venue that's like outside but inside but overlooks? What the heck is the name of that? I feel so silly. It's on Broadway.
I know you're talking.
It's a venue. It's like 1,200 people. It's like it's a cool spot.
Oh, dang it!
Not the 12:30.
I can't think of it either.
but it's
I know
like right over there. I think
Yeah.
it's maybe even above the.
I played there with John
Yeah.
McGrath.
Yeah. What the heck's the name of that place? It's not Fly Loft,
No.
but it's
Not
something
A
Loft,
Loft.
isn't it?
I don't know.
Gosh dang.
I'm not going to think
I
of
hope-
it.
Hopefully the founders
Just
aren't
call it the loft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they catered food, and it was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to be very anticlimactic because I can't remember the name, but they have a place in Assembly Food Hall, and it was like I had this like corn sweet casserole, and then these green beans with like smoked brisket in it, and then this chicken, and then their big thing, I don't, maybe it had hot honey, or is that it? Is that a name of a place? Anyways, it was this chicken in this sauce, and bro, it was
Really good.
yeah. I picked up a plate. This does us no good because we don't know the name, but I can probably Google and find out. And the keyboard player was sitting down, and he took a bite, and he looked at me, and he had that look like he's like, dude, he's like, I almost made this story up in my head, but that's the look he gave me. I made this story up in my head of like, I felt I like I had what do they call that? Not osmosis, but
Premonition?
no, like he was talking
telekinesis.
Yeah, telekinesis.
telekinesis. He was like, this is one of those moments in life that is you're gonna remember forever because the food's so good. I almost felt
You
that
heard
with his
it.
eyes. And he looked at me and he was like, and I was like,
That's right.
I feel like
Slow-mo.
your palate is way more advanced than mine. Yeah, for me, it's barbecue, pizza, burgers,
You like
and
that
if
good,
I'm
good
feeling
Wendy's.
fancy, maybe Olive Garden.
Okay.
Hey,
This guy will.
breadsticks is the finest palate
Yeah.
that anybody can have.
100%.
You can't
Yeah.
not like
100%.
breadsticks,
Yeah.
man.
I'll eat bread.
Oh,
It's so good.
some good toast. Come
Some
on.
toast, dude. Hey man, I can cook some toast, dude, for sure.
I believe it. You look like
Cook
a
the
toast
hell
guy.
out of
I look
some
like
toast.
Yeah.
So, were there any cities? Oh, sorry, guys. Were you?
No, I'm just still trying to think of that place, man. To shout them
yeah.
out 'cause they were so
Think
good.
of it
right
since
up
we leave.
at the top of the escalator, right above Burger Place. That's a burger spot.
I don't know,
That sells
man.
burgers?
Man, what the heck was it?
Shake Shack.
No,
That was like
they
Lump Burger or
brought
something.
they brought it into our room, so I didn't even physically go
okay.
see it.
Okay.
They have a storefront out south. Somebody was saying.
Okay.
I keep trying
can't do
to
it.
I keep trying to give us clues, but I can't think. I'm so
I
sorry.
give up.
Burger King.
yeah. Oh,
yeah.
that's a little mom and pop operation they got going on. Yeah. Have there been any? Were there any random cities you wound up in where you just like had the most amazing food ever? Where you were completely blown away, like you didn't expect it to be, or
Sydney.
Sydney?
Really?
Yeah. How's
Yeah.
Australia in general? Like,
It was so
playing
fun. We were
shows?
there for about a month. Seth just got back.
I just got back
Really?
about 3 weeks ago
I
from
left him
Australia.
little clues.
Yeah.
I left him little treats. No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Because we were there like, I don't know,
Yeah.
3, 4, 5, 6 months before.
Well, that's really cool.
It was my first time, and we spent an
Uh-huh.
entire month there. You'd been before.
That was my first time as
Oh,
well.
really?
Yeah.
That's like a
No
bucket
fun.
list trip for me.
Got to
I
hold a
really-
koala. That
No
was
way.
awesome.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's not a complete trip.
It's not a
without
complete
it.
trip without
Yeah.
holding the koala.
dude.
The only thing was
They
I got
sleep a lot.
roasted. I got roasted pretty hard. I wish I had the picture, but actually I'm gonna get the
If we
picture.
can find it, we can
Yeah,
add
on
it
your
and
phone.
edit
I
it.
was like, dude, you have the fucking
We can put it-
printout. I keep it with me at
yeah,
all
11
times.
by 8.
Just a rolled up poster in his
Yeah.
backpack.
I got roasted because I was really proud of this picture. I was the only one in the group that went and did this. It was our last day there. It was a show day. And I was like, I'm not going to leave Australia until I get a picture. And so this was the...
Oh, come on.
But
Come on.
I've showed it to
Aw.
some people, and they've been like, let's
Yeah,
see if you
can
can
you
see
get
it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice engagement photo.
Dude, the colors, the lighting, it's
Yeah.
It's a
perfect.
little too perfect, isn't it? Yeah, it's a little too photo.
Kinda,
And the koala's kind of got like away from
Yeah,
the
yeah.
photo, like
it does have an engagement photo vibe. For
But yeah.
sure.
Do you love it?
Australia, 10 out of 10. The flight over there, 0 out of 10.
Yeah,
17
that
hours.
sounds right.
Yeah.
That
What's
sounds
the?
right.
Is it? I guess it's depending where you are in the U.S.
Yeah.
But like, how many stops are there to
So
get
we
down
went
there?
from Nashville to Houston, which I think is a little unusual.
Honey fire.
Honey
There
Fire.
it is.
I
Okay.
texted the guy.
Honey fire.
Honey fire. You
Those are
guys,
quick
whatever
response.
y'all are doing, keep doing it.
I'm gonna
Nice.
get some food from them because the labor
so-
that got put into getting their
That's
name.
right.
I gotta try
we gotta
it
go
now.
after this.
I
That's
gotta
right.
I
try
better
it
get a
now.
follow after that.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm
No,
kidding.
we're clipping this. We're tagging
We're going
them.
there tonight.
Going there right now.
100%.
Yeah.
Sorry, koala.
No, the
Quality.
flight. The
The
flight.
flight,
It's like
yeah.
rough.
So is Nashville, Houston, and then we've got a big international airport in Houston.
Yeah.
So probably transferred to a bigger plane
Yep.
there.
And then that was it. Just 17 and a half hours from
you
there.
drink?
Straight.
Straight.
Did you drink?
No.
I did.
Maybe I should
How
have.
many did
was
it
a long
take to
flight.
really make the flight?
Edibles?
Oh, I just meant
I'm
drinks.
just, I know, I'm just
Just
kidding,
put
sorry.
yourself in a
I'm
coma
being
until you
honored.
get
Yeah. Oh, dude, I'm kind of. I don't know. I just like. I have one. You know, I'll say this. They brought us this cool meal, and it had like wine with it.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
That's
and then you
nice.
can get another wine, and I think they
Yeah.
could see the look in my eyes. They're like, "He needs another wine."
He's sleepy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have a problem. I don't.
Only when it's a 17
Only when
hour
it's
flight.
17 hour
Yeah,
flight.
I'm-
Yeah.
everyone
Long way.
gets to be an alcoholic on a 17-hour flight.
Exactly.
It's your pass.
You get a pass, man.
You got to make it bearable.
So I'd say I had, a few glasses of wine for sure, man.
Yeah.
Yep. Seats were nice, movies, and we were mobbing with it like we had a crew.
Yeah.
So it's like
That-
if I got
that's
too
so
bored,
fun.
it's like we got over there. Let me get some of that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they had snacks or
Yeah.
That's so
you
fun
can-
though.
here, let me see that AirPod. Let's watch a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever.
That's
It makes
fun.
it so much better.
Yeah.
It's the
Oh
way
my
it should
gosh,
be.
you feel so lonely.
Doing that
Yeah.
solo would be a nightmare.
Oh gosh.
Totally.
Yeah. Just only strangers and the ocean beneath you.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, I flew
You got
over
the guy
to
with the feet, and it's like, man, put your shoes on.
yeah. The loud snoring people
Yeah.
or the random baby that starts crying.
Yeah, you got to start picking on them just for entertainment.
Yeah. Yeah, hearing a baby cry when you're midway over the Atlantic it's a scary
You're
feeling.
like, we're
I'm
in it.
so trapped.
He knows something we don't.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He knows something we don't. Yeah.
What was your what countries have y'all been like hitting outside of the US for y'all's like just in recent memory? Have you
Yeah.
anywhere else super cool?
We did a cool Euro tour this last year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was
that's right.
awesome, man. And I went up to Norway early.
Oh, you
Yeah,
did?
yeah. A friend of mine said, Tico, a mutual friend of ours, he said, "Hey, man," he said, "I saw on y'all's tour, y'all are going to be going here, and the first stop is Norway." He goes, "I've been, go. Trust me, go." Like he held my face. He's like, "Go, honey fire."
Squeezing your
And
cheeks.
so he was like, yeah, he's squeezing me. And I went, and it was awesome. And I went like 10 or 2 weeks ahead. Some of my friends went, and we went from Oslo to the middle of the country, this nice town, and then we got in a boat. We went through the fjords, and it
That's
was incredible,
awesome.
dude. I'll never forget it. And I would encourage anybody to go. It was so cool. It was so cool. So there, and then we made our way down and over in Ireland and all this stuff. But that's the
Yeah.
place that I spent the most time in. Every place we went, I was like, I want to come back for 2 weeks. I want to come back for a month.
Yeah.
Like everywhere we
Yeah.
went, I was like, I could go back. And so I think, I'm going to start a little fund or something,
Yeah.
to like,
Yeah.
hey, man, here's your, you got to go for at least a week
Right.
to one place for me to really
experience
take it in. Because we had, an off day here and there, but like at some points we were like city.
I was
day
going
by
to say,
day.
there's a difference in traveling just for fun and work. But I
Sure.
think, one thing that I always try to do is just make it a point to, even if I'm there for work, walk around like just like the koala thing. Like just go and do it.
Just
because
meet a koala.
You never
Yeah.
know when you're going to be back in some of these places.
And
so,
if you can't
know.
find something, just walk from the venue, and if
Yep,
it's a
and you'll
safe-
find something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ask the security person, like, hey, is there? Yeah, you know what? There's a nature preserver. Google.
Yeah.
I was amazed, man. We were in London, and all the places we went, Copenhagen, etc. It's like you Google like directions, and it's like take this bus to this train to it like step by step.
Yeah, I had that
It
in
was very
England.
elaborate. Shout out Google.
Yes.
Oh,
They're
man.
when I did that in England, I was in London and we took a day, me and my sister, because we were with a huge group of people,
Yeah.
and we were like, we're not doing the group thing today.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
It's
just
hard.
getting stuck
It's
on the bus
hard.
for 12 hours.
Yeah.
You have to do exactly what they have lined out, and you can't get out of it until
Oh, yeah.
7 o'clock at night. If you get tired, get over it, you know?
Yeah, start
And we were
going
like,
crazy.
we're going to do our own thing today.
Smart.
And we just hopped on the train, and it took us everywhere. It was, and the like,
tube.
yeah, the tube. Yeah, we went to like Soho, which is the fancy district, and their inflation's not nearly as bad as ours, because even in the nice area of town, like you could get a pint for $5.
Wow.
Which is
Wow.
pretty cool. Yeah, it's like I thought we were in the trendy part of
Dangerous.
town, but
Yeah.
Like, okay.
I can't go to a dive bar in America and not
Yeah.
pay $9.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun, and it was like that. It was like walk here, get on this train, get off here, walk here. It was very detailed.
Good. Yeah, because we're going to Paris in early June.
Ooh, nice.
And you could pay with your debit card everywhere too.
That's what I heard last night. Because
Yeah.
I was asking someone, like, do you just have to bring cash everywhere?
Yeah, you could pay with your debit card, and it'll
didn't
just
know you
do
could do
the exchange rate
Yeah.
right there.
2024.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you all so much for
Oh gosh.
coming on and
this was a
talking about your
blast. Yeah.
book, and
Honor, man.
I'm very excited to. When is it releasing? Let's plug our stuff, or do we
Yeah.
not have a release date?
So
It's
before
okay.
we came over to do this thing, we were sitting on the computer and uploading all the files, JPEG files,
Yep.
and
Got
so
the back cover from our editor
Yep, today.
and we approved it. And so yeah.
So I would say by May 1st is kind of what we're shooting
Yeah,
for.
we're
It may
kinda-
take
yeah,
a
this
couple,
is-
2 or 3 weeks, for
So
uploading.
fun.
and,
Yeah, maybe sooner, but May
Yeah.
1st is safe.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you want to find anything out about it, hiredmusician.com is the route.
Awesome.
Okay.
Hiredmusician.com, it'll have all the stuff. Working on the website now, etc. But if nothing else, it'll guide you to, give us your email address, and then we'll follow up with like, hey, here's the official release date.
Okay, awesome.
Is it all self-published? Is this all you guys, or do you have a...
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
It's us, man. Yeah, we kind of, we would ask people, and you had a buddy, what's his name?
Phil Criz.
Yeah.
Philip Criz. Yeah.
Yeah, he helped us out a lot, gave us some
Yeah.
guidance, but a lot of Googling and chat GPTing.
Totally.
How do you do this with this, with this, with that?
Yeah.
A lot
Yeah.
of, researching on our own.
I wrote a drum book called,
Nice.
Oh,
called The
nice.
Sly Hat.
Yeah.
And it got published in 2020.
Very cool.
But I released it in 2016. So I was just pushing it for, not aggressively, but
Yes.
here and there I was pushing it for publishing companies, and then Hudson Music picked it up.
That's awesome. We need to
And
talk after this.
2020.
'cause I want
Yeah,
to hear more
sure.
about
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it a chance encounter with them, or you were pushing to get
I was
published?
pushing.
Oh, right
Yeah.
on, man.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, yeah, I think I reached out. But,
Congratulations.
dude, I'm excited to read it.
Thanks,
I'm excited
man.
to see it come out.
Yeah, and
It's
thanks
fun.
for having us, guys. I love what
Thank
y'all
you,
are
guys.
doing, and
No, thank you.
we're honored.
Yeah, I'm definitely
Really
excited to
appreciate
read it.
Yeah.
I feel like there's gonna be a lot of good info in there.
Hired musician.
Hired musician.
A guide to getting
And keeping gigs. Wow.
Yeah, we need a theme song.
All right,
Thank you,
cool.
guys.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys, man.